vote on a police bill of rights that the progressives were against, whereas the moderates were for. So even when they do vote in the way you expect, it was interesting to dig in a little bit and see what makes them distinct from the other groups within their own party.
Yeah, that's such fascinating stuff because it's and that's where I think we actually have to get in these conversations. Is beyond the headline and the obvious stuff. It's like, well, they all voted this way or they all voted that way. A lot of times there are very interesting subtleties that I actually think lead us to better conversations about the policy. When you start to understand, oh, well, they wanted this component, or wow, this was really the struggle point for them. And so as you went through that and looked at some of those processes, of course, everyone's looking at where are the people who are going to get something done committee. So you sort of have that problem solvers caucus and describe for me what you found kind of in terms of that middle, whether it's kind of the more centrist Democrats and the more centrist Republicans and some of these problem solver folks. Give us a sense of how those played out and what do you expect to see from them, especially in this kind of contentious, polarized election cycle?
Right. So if you go to our project and you scroll down, you can actually see how these different groups voted on specific types of votes in the House, which can be a little weedy, but we've tried to break it down and make it easy for everybody. But I'll give you an example. So there's a procedural process, as you're aware, called suspension of the rules. And usually this is something that's used to vote on less controversial stuff. It makes it easier to sort of expedite the passage of this legislation with a 2/3 majority vote. And Speaker Mike Johnson has been using it to try to push through bills that he has been getting, opposition from that far right wing. And when you look at that, most of the sort of all the parts of the parties that are kind of closer to the center, they're all voting, 95, 96% in favor of this kind of vote. But then the progressive wing, they're only voting 87% in favor of it. And the far-right obstructionist group, they're only voting 77%. So you can see where we're starting to get that breakdown of process, where normally this would be stuff that's kind of procedural and getting passed. And these sort of farther fringy wings of both parties are the ones that are kind of holding things up.
Yeah. Oh, it's so fascinating, and I will confess that I did go down the rabbit hole on the on the website because it is so interesting to see all of those little nuances. And as you pointed out, Kaylee, some of those people you say, "Wow, that's surprising." They would vote this way or they'd be considered part of this group. But I do think that leads to better conversations, and everyone should check that out. If you go to projects.538.com, you'll see it has the different types of Democrats and Republicans in the House for 2024, and it is really interesting to scroll through and look at some of those scenarios and angles. What's one thing that surprised you in this whole process, Kaylee, before I let you go?
I think what really surprised me was how much these groups actually really established themselves. Once we started looking through the votes and, running it through, doing the math to it, so to speak, it became really clear, these clusters. And the fact that there were really 5 distinct groups on the Republican side and 3 distinct groups on the Democrat side really shows that there's much more division on the right now, which, we can kind of glean just from all the animosity and the trouble they've been having getting stuff passed and switching speakers every few months. You can see why it's so fractured right now, because there are these distinct different clusters, and they're not always in agreement on what needs to be done and how to do it.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if we'll ever get to kind of that coalition governing kind of thing. We're sort of seeing that in an interesting way right now, but this is an incredible deep dive, as always, from 538. Great numbers, great research, great reporting. Kaylee Rogers, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
All right. Again, that's Kaylee Rogers from 538. And you should go check that out today. Again, you can just go to projects.538.com and you'll see all the different little clusters of groups. And it will surprise you. You'll see some people say, oh, wow, I would have suspected that this congresswoman would have voted this way, or that she would have been part of this group or that group. It's really an eye-opener to see how they actually vote versus just the rhetoric versus what you just assume because of the headline, because they have a D or an R by their name. And that's why, as always, we have to think again about what we think we know. We'll be right back.
Think again on Inside Sources with Boyd Matheson.
Are you willing to do something today that will change every tomorrow for the rest of your life? Well, for me, that one thing that changed everything was the day I made my decision to begin my SOTA weight loss journey. SOTA weight loss, SOTA, stands for state-of-the-art weight loss because it is. It's state-of-the-art. I was so tired of just being on the bench, out of the game, feeling tired and sluggish. And then I got my nutritionist. My SOTA nutritionist helped me break through the bad habits, the poor choices, and just build a better me. Not just for today, but forever. No fads, no potions, no counting. It's all state-of-the-art science. I let go of 37 pounds in just 90 days. I'm 2.5 years into my journey. Guess what? I'm 37 pounds down today. Never felt better. The results don't lie. The difference will surprise you and amaze you. When it comes to your SOTA weight loss journey, there's no time to lose, only time to win. So start winning today. Your healthy tomorrow starts today. Make the decision today that will change every day for the rest of your life. Start it out at SOTA Weight Loss, SOTA weightloss.com.
Get the news.
There were crackdowns on protests on college campuses around the country overnight.
And a deeper understanding of the news.
Where I think it crosses the line, all of a sudden you're in my face.
Give us a call and your best argument.
Tim and Amanda catch you up first thing in the morning. Then join Dave and Debbie and Boyd Matheson for conversation about the news middays. And Jeff Kaplan has the latest developments on your drive home. For news and talk, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
Do you find it exhausting getting up from your favorite chair every day? Say goodbye to discomfort and hello to a world of ease. Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent with Alpine Home Medical, and you have so many options when buying a lift chair. For the highest quality, always come to Alpine. Our lift chairs are more than just furniture. They're your ticket to independence and relaxation. Plus, with our spring savings event, we've just marked down some of our chairs that are ready for you to take home. With an unbelievable warranty, you can shop with confidence knowing your comfort is our priority. So stop by any of our 11 locations today and explore our high-quality inventory, or visit us online at alpinehomemedical.com. That's alpinehomemedical.com.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
Advertising used to be simple. Your options were radio, TV, newspaper, and let's not forget the yellow pages. Now it seems like a tidal wave of options. Podcast, cable TV, streaming, OTT, CTV, audio networks, smart speakers. On top of that, you need digital marketing for your website along with SEM, SEO, display, video, YouTube, email, and all the social media platforms. Look, you're the expert in your business. Wouldn't it be nice to have an expert to market you? We are Bonneville Salt Lake, the local marketing and media company you know and trust. We reach customers across all digital and social platforms and have the reach of traditional advertising available as well. We find your customer anytime, any place, anywhere on any device here in Utah or anywhere in the world. We work to optimize your results with our in-house local team of experts, providing you with qualified leads, not just impressions. Contact Stephanie Palmer at KSL for a free consultation, including a complete digital audit with no obligation or cost to you. Email spalmer@ksl.com. That's spalmer@ksl.com.
Guys, are you ready to give up because you think you've tried everything and you're still dealing with loss of energy, poor sleep, weight gain, and even ED? Revive Men's Health Salt Lake City has local medical providers that offer low T and ED treatments customized to each patient's unique physical makeup. By working with a specialized compounding lab, personalized treatments are guaranteed, even when generic pills and supplements haven't worked. It all starts with your free comprehensive exam and consultation. Availability is limited. Book today, and for this month only, Revive offers qualified patients a free 1-month supply of personalized ED medication, plus a free ED treatment producing immediate results. The experts at Revive Men's Health Salt Lake City will work to provide the right treatment for you so you can show up as the best you in all aspects of your life. Call 801-263-7777. That's 801-263-7777. Or send them a private message at revivemenshealth.com.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, the body of a man who's been missing for 5 years has been found in Box Elder County. Second, the state health department routinely tests our wastewater for COVID. They're finding some new strains of the virus. And third, heavy rain and flooding have displaced more than 17,000 people in southern Brazil. 52 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Get deeper insights on the news from Inside Sources.
Welcome back to Inside Sources here on KSL News Radio. As we look back at the week and as we look back at all the things that have been going on college campuses, of course, the questions around free speech, peaceful protest, what that is and isn't, and how do we actually create an environment where we can make sure we are protecting all of those things. It requires a different kind of focus and look, and a lot of stepping up, I think, in terms of our institutions of higher education. In order to do that, a good friend of the show, J.D. Tuchili, of course, current contributing editor at Reason.com, really laid out some nice framing principles in terms of how we need to get to all of this. And J.D., welcome back to the show. And first, just kind of give us your assessment, kind of getting towards the end of this week. And a lot of the big things have, at least we hope, have played out and are done. But give us your sense in terms of what you've witnessed and seen, and then let's start talking about what's the path forward.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've watched chaos on a lot of college campuses in the last couple of weeks, especially at the elite colleges. I mean, protests are one thing. Some of them have turned violent. Some of them have turned hateful. You've had a lot of occupation of college grounds, which are, in many cases, private space, or they're supposed to be shared space, even if it's at a public university where everyone's supposed to have access, not just those that represent one group. And a big problem with this is that colleges and universities over the last decade or so have been absolutely terrible environments in too many cases for open discourse and free speech. They've favored some viewpoints, they've suppressed some others, and they've really kind of muddled the ground, you know, in terms of what are the boundaries of debate, what are the boundaries of discussion, what can you do and what can you not do. And we've seen that played out, especially over the last week or two, with these protests that have, in some cases, gone way too far, turned violent, violated rights, and in other cases been suppressed by the police, even when they're acting within constitutional boundaries. And that's why we really need to get back to basic first principles when it comes to free speech.
Yeah, and so let's dig into that, because I do think part of it is educating the students, part of it is educating the faculty and the administrators, as well as law enforcement and, you know, out into the community and so on. And so let's kind of walk back through how should we be going about this in terms of those first principles? That's always where we begin, and the fact that they are compatible principles, that you can have free speech, you can have that right to assemble, and you can do it in a peaceful way. And so how do we need to start training and teaching the way we engage in those kinds of conversations, especially on campus?
Oh, absolutely. And the foundation for individual rights and expression has been really solid and consistent throughout this. Pointing out, it's now a general free speech organization. It started off as one for college campuses before broadening its scope. And it points out that even vile speech, so long as it stays clear of true threats and harassment of specific individuals, but even harmful, hateful, and offensive speech is protected by the First Amendment. So if you take offense at something someone else is saying, that doesn't mean that what's being said is impermissible. It means that you've taken offense. They might be bad people. They might be wrong, but they have a right to express themselves. But they don't have the right to engage in intimidation, incitement, discriminatory harassment, let alone explicit violence. They don't have the right to occupy private property. And if you don't draw these lines, if you don't say up to this point and no further, and on the other side of this point, we will not put up with that, then you really muddy the ground as to what is free speech, what is allowed, and where does it go too far. But these principles have been well established in law. And one of the best expressions of them came out in 2014 from the University of Chicago, the Chicago Principles, when a lot of this nonsense really was starting to take off And academics who value free speech, and I know that it's a dwindling number, but those who really still hold to the principles of the First Amendment put forward and restated the old rules of free speech, where they pointed out in the Chicago Principles that it is not the proper role of the university, or for that matter, society, to attempt to shield individuals from ideas and opinions they find unwelcome, disagreeable, or even deeply offensive. And I'm quoting here. But the university may restrict expression that violates the law, that falsely defames a specific individual, that constitutes a genuine threat or harassment, that unjustifiably invades substantial privacy or confidentiality interests, or that is otherwise directly incompatible with the functioning of the university. And, of course, violence falls in there in the forbidden category, too. These are clear principles. They have been stated and restated, but they have not been consistently applied. And we probably could have avoided a lot of this current chaos if they had been applied, if they had been enforced, if rights had been protected across the board for everybody involved.
Yeah, I think that, and those principles are those are all rock solid things. I think that that is the right place to begin. And again, it's not just the putting them down on paper; it's then making sure they're lived and breathed and enforced and upheld in all the situations across the university or across the community, for that matter. That if we get to that space, then we can get to that different kind of conversation. And I think that's an important thing. It's the looking the other way of it, or many of those, and you pointed this out in your piece, JD, just talking about some of these elite schools, many of these Ivy League schools that really have just turned the other way, and it's starting to have a bit of a backlash in terms of the rest of society. You noted even some hiring decisions that are starting to get skewed a little bit away from Ivy Leagues because of the kinds of things that are being reported out.
Oh, absolutely. And this might be a bit of solace for those who are deeply offended by a lot of the speech, and understandably so. That's going on campus, especially the explicit anti-Semitism of some of these protests, is that it may be protected under law, but that doesn't mean you cannot react to it in other ways, certainly by, say, exercising your own free association rights. Forbes magazine surveyed employers, those who make hiring decisions, and they found out that 33% of those making hiring decisions said they are less likely to hire Ivy League and other elite college graduates today than they were 5 years ago. Only 7% said they are more likely to hire them. So, the graduates at Columbia and of NYU and a lot of these schools where you're seeing the worst of these protests, especially the ones that are so nasty and out of control, chances are they're going to face a very unfavorable hiring market when they get out there. So saying offensive things might be legally protected, but it carries its own penalty in many cases.
Yeah, and that's often the fascinating part of all of this. J.D. Tuccilli, always great insight, great writing, and this is one that we really have to get to. And again, as we get past some of these bigger things on these campuses, hopefully things are settling down, and hopefully we can make a shift that we're actually focusing on the peaceful protesters, those who are living up to this kind of higher standard and ideal. We're not seeing them 24/7 on the news cycle. We're not seeing them on all the social media posts. But that's what we got to get to. We should stop rewarding the bad behavior. Let's reward the good behavior. We just might get more of it. JD, thanks so much for joining us today, as always.
Thanks for having me on.
All right, that's JD Tuccilli, current contributing editor at Reason.com. You can check out his piece for Peaceful Campus Protests. Colleges need free speech principles, and then they need to uphold them so that there's more clarity than confusion. We'll step aside for bottom of the hour news. More Inside Sources coming up next.
It's 1:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bonas. KSL's top story this hour. A judge is hearing arguments this afternoon on whether Phil Lyman's choice for running mate should be allowed to run for lieutenant governor. Lyman picked Lane Bangerter after his victory in last weekend's Republican state convention. Now, the state elections officer has ruled that Bangerter is not eligible because he hasn't lived in Utah for 5 consecutive years before the election. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Highway crews in Connecticut are working to repair a section of Interstate 95 damaged by a tanker fire. They hope to have traffic flowing on this major route along the East Coast by Monday. Heavy equipment is removing sections of a damaged bridge there. Senator Richard Blumenthal says the Federal government will be paying the cost of repairs. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up on the day now, 460 points. The NASDAQ is up 330. And our KSL weather looks like warm temperatures with south winds tomorrow. Then the rain moves in on Sunday. That's next. KSL News Time, 1:30.
We hope you have the right app on your phone for news. You probably have dozens.
But the KSL News Radio app, well, it makes our live stream super easy.
Plus, our talk shows are right there as podcast for your workday.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Febreze.
Fabric Talk. Hey, it's me, your couch. Today's my favorite day of the week, Febreze Fabric Spray Day. The occasional deep cleans are nice, but in between, you know I'm needing a refresh. Ooh, here she comes with the Febreze Fabric Spray. Oh yeah, spritz them armrests. Don't be shy. Nothing like a good spray down to get me smelling so fresh and clean. Don't forget my back. Nice. Febreze Fabric Spray. It's just that easy. Now we can both breathe happy. Febreze. La 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 la.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for less. And for a limited time, new customers receive their second month free when they sign up and use promo code MONTHFREE by May 31st. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
Small business owners, we know finishing your to-do list can feel like climbing a mountain, but that mountain is also covered in banana peels. Then when something new gets added to your list, you're like, nope, I'm already climbing this huge, super slippery banana peel mountain of a to-do list. At Progressive, we don't want to make your day any harder. That's why we make it easy to manage your policy on our mobile app. So climbing that banana peel mountain feels more like a leisurely stroll. See if you can save on commercial auto insurance in as little as 7 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Coverage subject to policy terms and conditions.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go. Shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Other symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain can come and go, but the risk of stroke stays. If you have symptoms, tell a doctor. Visit notimetowait.com.
Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
That's right, it's me again, and I'm at J&J Garden Center in Layton, the best place to shop for Mother's Day, where they have something special for every mom, and of course at a special price. Right now, all hanging baskets are 20% off. All flats of flowering bedding plants are just $22.98, and all 4.5-inch geraniums are 20% off too. That's incredible. J&J Garden Center definitely has the best products at the best price. So give mom something special this Mother's Day with a special purchase from J&J Garden Center in Layton. Take the Layton Parkway exit, Main Street to Gentile, then west 2 miles. You've got to see it to believe it. You really do.
Country grown to your home. J&J Garden Center.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky Meeks.
A good drive on the Valley freeways. We do have a crash at 90th South, about 1600 West, and in South Salt Lake, a crash with injuries 3900 South between 100 and 200 West. Ricky Meeks in the KSL Traffic Center.
South winds will push tomorrow's high close to 80 degrees. Then rain arrives on Sunday with a high of 54. It'll stay cool Monday and Tuesday with a chance of rain. And right now, we're at 54 degrees. It's mostly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. America's voice of reason. Boyd Matheson on Utah's home for elevated conversation. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Well, as you know, on this program, we only talk about politics so we can explore society, and we explore society so we can talk about principles and the people who actually live them. And we're going to do that for the rest of this hour. We're going to get into some really core principles that apply in communities, in companies, in countries, and apply to you. So just settle in. You're going to be thrilled, amazed, and inspired a bit as we have a conversation with our friend Chester Elton, who is just a powerful voice in workplace trends. He co-leads the Culture Works, spent 2 decades helping clients engage in their employees to execute on strategy, vision, and most important, values. He's a best-selling author, and we'll get into a lot of those things as we go along. But I want to start in this one space. And first, Chester, welcome to the show.
Listen, Boyd, delighted to be talking to you again. When we met at the summit, it was more fun than humans should be allowed.
That's right. The Kindness Summit, which was just a couple of weeks ago now in the rearview mirror up at the University of Utah. Of course, Khosrow Simnani and his group, One Kind Act a Day, or thepowerofkind.org. It was an amazing day through and through. And one of the prizes I took away was a connection with Chester. And Chester, I want to start today with something that has been very central in all of your work. And I want to tee it up with one of my favorite quotes. It's from William George Jordan. It was written back in 1902. And he wrote, "Ingratitude, the most popular sin of humanity, is forgetfulness of the heart. The individual who possesses it finds it the shortest cut to all the other vices." You've done a lot of work around gratitude. So let's start with the ingratitude portion, and then how do we get to the gratitude space?
Yeah, I really agree with that. Ingratitude, and it seems to be more and more pervasive these days when we have this spirit of entitlement and so on, where, people owe me something, and I don't have to say thank you. I don't have to be gracious. And it does lead down to other vices of being selfish, of being self-centered, of being less altruistic. It's one of the reasons that I was so honored to speak at the summit and the One Kind Act a Day and the Simnani Family Foundation that is all about giving and giving back to the community, and this idea that one kind act a day can change the world. I was really inspired to see so many people at the University of Utah, take the pledge. The president of the University of Utah said, "I want the University of Utah to be the epicenter of educational kindness." Yeah. I mean, President Randall, how great was that?
Yeah, it was amazing all the way through. And as you've looked at how you apply that principle of gratitude, of course, your book, Leading with Gratitude, is something everybody ought to pick up. It's just a fantastic read. So tell us about your work in terms of creating that kind of focus, that kind of culture within an organization.
Well, here's the thing that's really interesting, Boyd, is that Adrian Gostick is my co-author, lives just outside Park City there in Utah. And we've taken a look at 1 million engagement surveys. We have a database of over 1 million engagement surveys. We've written 15 books on culture and leadership and so on. And we look at what's best in class. Like, who are those that really are way above the norm as far as innovation, employee retention, customer loyalty, and on and on and on, all the indicators in business that you want to have. And what we found that was so encouraging, Boyd, was that the common thread was always gratitude, that they kept people at the center of everything they did. We talk about a culture where people believe what they do matters and they make a difference, right? My values, my principles align with the company. I believe that what I do is important, that it matters. And then I make a difference, right? I'm making a difference for our customers, for our communities, for each other in the company. And it's really interesting. And then we add to that. And when I make a difference, it's noticed and celebrated. And when you look at it that way, and I want to make this point right up front, because people that are listening to this are going to say, yeah, I get the soft stuff. I get the nice to have stuff. It's nice to be nice. But what about the bottom line?
Yeah.
Well, the bottom line shows that when you do these things, it's not a soft skill. It's a hard skill. And it's not a nice to have. It's a must have. And if you do it, your results are better. Your return on equity is higher. Your retention is higher. Your customer loyalty is higher. And so it's a bit of a mystery to me and you both, I know, that more people don't do it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so amazing because it's the seemingly simple, the seemingly insignificant stuff that happens every day that really does make the big difference in the end, and ultimately creates this kind of culture that isn't just about gratitude, although that's the driving force in so many ways, but it actually has this spillover effect into the customer service, into the creativity, into the ability to engage and solve difficult problems. And so walk us through, how do we start doing that? What are some of those little things we can begin to do to make that a reality?
I love this question because I'm a huge fan of symbols and rituals, right? And companies that have in their day-to-day practice simple little rituals. For example, wonderful company up in Canada. They've got a 15 and 15. Oh, I'm sorry, a 10 and 10. Just 10 minutes at the beginning of the day, 10 minutes at the end of the day. Checking in with your people at the beginning of the day, welcoming them to work, talking about what we've got to get done and so on. And then at the end of the day, checking in and saying, hey, how are you doing? Really appreciate a good day's work. This was great. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow. This idea that, when you wake up in the morning that you're excited to go to work. I get to go to work. I don't have to go to work, right?
Yeah.
Wonderful hospital down in Dallas. They have a thing. It's a faith-based hospital. They have what they call the Sacred 60 with all their executives. For 1 hour a day, they leave their phones in their offices, their laptops and everything, and they make the rounds, and they talk to their employees. And how's it going? How's it going at home? How's it going at work? Do you have all the resources you need? This human connection. So if you can establish some simple rituals, start your day, end your day, have that time in the middle. And then my favorite one is a manager down in Dallas, Texas for Avis Budget rental car. Wait for this. You'll love it. He puts 10 pennies in his left pocket every day. And he says, I want to have 10 positive interactions with my people, not just pointing out what's going wrong, but pointing out what's also going right. And he moves a penny from his left pocket to his right pocket. And his results are phenomenal. So I would start there. Find a simple ritual and make it part of your everyday routine.
Yeah, I love that. And whether you're walking around your business or whether you're walking around your neighborhood or your school or your family for that matter, I think it all adds up and goes the same way. One of the things that I loved about your presentation up at the Kindness Summit was the fact that it was all about an authentic approach to all of this. This is not rah-rah. This is not syrupy, gooey things that people can say, oh, here's this kind of appeasement strategy or, someone just kind of patting me on the head. But talk to us for just a second about how do we get to that authentic space and be able to invite those that we lead into that space?
Yeah, it is so interesting, that authenticity, because a lot of people will say, well, I'll do that, Chester, but they'll know I don't mean it. I said, well, let's start here. Why don't you try meaning it? Let's start there. We do give some fun tips on that. And first is that if you're going to express gratitude for whatever behavior it is, do it now. I mean, do it right now. Primacy, recency. If you think you're going to remember at the end of the day or the end of the week or the end of the quarter, you won't. We've got stuff going on. We get busy. The second is do it now and be specific. Yeah. Now, that brings in sincerity, right? General praise, we say, has no impact. But if you say, hey, I really like what you did with that customer that came in that had a problem and they were worried about it, and you calmed them down and they skipped out of here. That's a customer for life. So, that specificity makes it very sincere, right? As opposed to, hey, great job. And then do it often. And, we had a lot of fun at the summit with this because people will say, yeah, but if you do it too much, it'll become trite and people will get big heads and it loses its impact. And I always say, to your point, in your personal life, if you've got a great relationship, how often do you tell your spouse or your kids or a dear friend how much you love them? And can you hear that too much? Well, no, because it's frequent and it's specific and it's sincere. And, I always have a lot of fun with that because we'll call somebody out of the audience. And, inevitably somebody says, oh, I tell my husband I love him, 5 times a day. And I go, that's 1,500 times a year. You got to be kidding me. That's way too much.
Over your
of course
quota.
It isn't.
Yeah.
Right.
Those are powerful pieces. We're going to stay with the conversation here with our friend Chester Elton. And when we come back, we're going to look at some of the other things happening inside society and inside the workplace, dealing with some of the anxious, anxiety-driven things that are happening, and how do we navigate those a little bit better together. Stay with us. More Inside Sources coming up next on KSL News Radio. We'll be right back.
There's a race going on inside your body, and sometimes the bad guys, otherwise known as arthritis, get there first. That's when the joint pain kicks in.
Your healing process is just too slow and just can't catch up, and it needs just a little bit of help from QC Kinetics.
That's Dr. Daniel Zuckerman, a QC Kinetics medical director.
We all know that you can heal yourself. If you get a cut, it heals on its own. Your joints are no different. We can take the healing properties from your blood, concentrate them down, and put them in the spot that you need the help. It's amazing. Your body can heal itself.
At QC Kinetics, that's called regenerative medicine. No surgery or steroids, just lasting relief, the natural way.
The fact that we can treat them without surgery, but using their own body's natural healing process, without medications, without steroids, without surgery, it's just amazing.
Call QC Kinetics now for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 385-766-1987. That's 385-766-1987. 385-766-1987.
KSL Broadcast Group contests are open to participants 13 years of age and older that are residents of Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, and Nevada, unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, or other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contest may not enter. Persons who have won in the last 90 days from a station contest or event are not eligible. Full general contest rules are available at kslnewsradio.com.
Are you stressing about your IRS tax problems? Have you received notices from the IRS threatening to garnish your wages, levy your bank accounts, or seize your property? You need an ally. Allies Tax Relief has tax attorneys and enrolled agents that are ready to fight for you. They have saved millions for taxpayers just like you. Allies Tax Relief can help put a stop to IRS collections and, most importantly, negotiate your tax debt. Here's Brenda, a happy client of Allies Tax Relief.
I owed the IRS around $57,000, and they're about to start garnishing my paychecks. I heard a commercial on the radio about Allies Tax Relief, so I thought I'd give them a call. After a day, they were able to at least stop the garnishments, and after a few months of negotiations, I walked away owing the IRS only $301.
If you owe the IRS, call Allies Tax Relief right now for your free consultation. Call 800-230-5174. 800-230-5174. That's 800-230-5174.
Spring is a great time to elevate the look of your home and landscape by adding beautiful flowers to the yard and patio. And pros and hobbyists alike know that the best flowers are grown by Olson's Greenhouse, right here in the mountain valleys of Utah. This is Brian with Olson's Greenhouse, and my family has been growing flowers with love and care for over 80 years. That's 4 generations of a local, family-run Utah business. So whether you're looking to add a pop of color to the back patio or a beautiful flower bed to the front landscape, flowers from Olson's Greenhouse are the perfect finishing touch to make your yard a joy to relax in. Stop by ogg.com or find us on Instagram at Olson's Greenhouse Gardens, where you'll find inspiring photos to get you going on your flower gardening journey. You can also find a local retailer carrying plants from Olson's Greenhouse. That's ogg.com for Olson's Greenhouse Gardens, where you can dream big, dream bold, and dream in color with beautiful plants and flowers from Olson's Greenhouse.
Hey, this is Dan the Laptop Man from PC Laptops. A lot of people ask me, how did you come up with the "We love you" in our ads? Well, my mom used to call me every week to help her with her Facebook, her email, and her webcam. She uses her webcam to talk to all her siblings and grandkids in California and all across the country. I really loved helping her with her computer needs. And then she said to me, you know, a lot of people would appreciate this kind of personal service and care. If you treat customers with that same love and care that you treat me with, they'll keep coming back. And that's how my mom came up with PC Laptops. We love you. If you want to experience that same love and care as my mom does, just get into PC Laptops, where all of our computers come with a lifetime service guarantee, and they start from only $49 a month with 0 interest for a year on approved credit. Just go to PCLaptops.com. That's PCLaptops.com, where we love you.
Here's an easy tip from Jordan Valley Water to know when it's time to water your lawn. If you can easily push a 6-inch screwdriver into your soil, you don't need to water yet. For more tips, visit waytowater.com.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, a court hearing is underway to determine if Phil Lyman's choice for his running mate is legally eligible to run for lieutenant governor. Second, repairs are underway to get a major freeway route open again on the East Coast. Third, the body of a man who's been missing for 5 years has been found in Box Elder County. Right now, 54 degrees, mostly cloudy in Salt Lake City. Back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Hear elevated conversation on crucial issues. Boyd Matheson on Inside Sources.
Well, welcome back to Inside Sources here on KSL News Radio. It is great to be with you today. As always, I am Boyd Matheson, and we're staying with the conversation just a little bit longer as we further our conversation with Chester Elton, best-selling author, an extraordinary speaker, trainer, leader, coach, who understands what culture is all about. And you've heard me say it on this program a lot. I believe culture eats strategy for breakfast. It can overcome lack of talent, all kinds of things, if you have the right culture. And Chester, as we pick up this conversation, I want to get into this whole culture thing because there are a lot of people that are dealing with anxiety, and that often inhibits not only just individual performance, but also that culture gets impeded with that as well.
No question. You know, it's really interesting. As Adrian and I took a deep dive on this, it was because of his son, Anthony Gostick, who came to us and said, you know, you guys talk about culture and leadership and everything. Do you ever talk about mental health? And we looked at him and went, no, why would we do that? You know, I'm at the end of the baby boomers, Adrian's a Gen Xer, and our generations were, hey, rub some dirt on it, get back in the game, you know, turn that frown upside down. When I was playing sports, if somebody got knocked out, we thought that was hilarious.
Cool.
You know, yeah, give him some smelling salts, send him back in. And this was a real wake-up call for us because he said, you know, you oldies, which is a great title, right? You oldies, you don't talk about this, but my generation, we start every conversation with, how are you doing? And what we mean is, how are you managing your mental health? And we looked into it because, you know, our solution was always, look, just calm down. And then, you know, one of my favorite quotes of all time, and I know you love quotes, Boyd, is that never in the history of calming down has anybody ever calmed down by being told to calm down, right? So it got really interesting. And I just want to give your listeners a couple of numbers really quickly. But pre-pandemic, about 18% of employees said they had some kind of anxiety disorder. Now, everybody gets anxious, but a disorder it keeps me from doing my job. To your point, it crushes productivity and so on. Well, by 2022, and the numbers haven't changed through 2023, that jumped to 30%. Think about that. It's almost a third. But 42% of workers in their 20s. So very much a generational divide. And then with retention, 50% of millennials, 75% of Gen Z said they have left the job due to mental health. And the reason is only 10% of employees feel safe talking about it. Yeah. So it's this hidden killer of productivity, of retention, and innovation. And yet it's not safe to talk about. And let me ask you, Boyd, why do you think it's not safe? Why do employees not feel safe talking to their supervisors about mental health?
I think often it's two parts. One is that fear of either being seen as less than, not up to the task, and so they don't want to function from a position of weakness. I think some of it is that we aren't comfortable with uncomfortable conversations or know how to talk in a way that's forward moving and not showcasing, hey, I'm not up to this.
Yeah, you're exactly right. There's still this huge stigma, right? Like, you know, you go skiing up at Alta or whatever, and you wrench your knee or sprain your ankle, and your boss goes, "Oh, geez, you don't take care of that. Get some PT. You know, come back when you're ready." Somehow, when we say, "You know what? I'm just overwhelmed. I need a mental health day," we're afraid the reaction is going to be, like you say, less than weak, not mentally tough.
Yeah.
And it is so interesting, right? Because Robert Half just published recently that 91% of employees feel burned out or somewhat burned out right now. And it's because we're afraid to take that time off. And boy, the leaders that understand this and give their people a little grace and give them a little room, boy, they attract great talent and they keep it. And the best way to do that, and it's not easy, is if leaders can be a little bit vulnerable and can share their story. Like, I know in all the jobs you've had, and you've had big time jobs, you know, with politicians and rebranding and all this fun stuff, that there have been times when you've just said, hey, I got to get some sleep. You know, I got to take a day. And if you can share that story with your employees, it makes it safe for them to share their stories. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's that courageous vulnerability so that we
Right.
can have those conversations. It's one of the things that I love. Another one of Chester's books that you need to pick up is Anxiety at Work. It really goes through all the ins and outs of how we navigate this in a different way, create that supportive environment. And it has nothing to do about group hugs, rose-colored glasses, or glasses that are half full or half empty. And it has nothing to do with lowering the standard of excellence in the process. I think, to the contrary, whether it's your book Anxiety at Work or Leading with Gratitude, this is all about getting to a position of strength so that you can do more, be more, and become more individually and together.
Exactly. In fact, the subtitle of our book is, how do you deal with uncertainty and ambiguity, how you build resilience. And the last part I really love, and get stuff done.
Yeah.
Like, we've still got to get stuff done, right?
That's right.
And that's really important. I'll tell you what's really interesting. And before the break, we talked a little bit about gratitude. We have 8 strategies in the book to help you deal with it. Whether you have a perfectionism complex or uncertainty is the biggest driver. I just don't know what's going on. The pandemic, of course, heightened all of that. We weren't sure what we could do or when we could do it. But the 8th practice is my favorite. Again, we talk about this common thread in great cultures of gratitude. And we talk to these, we have a podcast, Anxiety at Work, and we interview business people and counselors and psychologists. And they all talk about the fact that you can't hold 2 emotions at the same time. And again, these rituals, if you have a gratitude ritual, you can't be in a state of gratitude and a state of anxiety at the same time. We had a guest on our podcast, and she gave a great summation, because we always ask, what are your personal practices to manage your anxiety? And she said, it's move, meditate, and journal. Isn't that interesting?
Love that.
Get out and get some exercise. Take some time, whether it's prayer or meditation or whatever, and then reflection. Write it down.
Journal. Yeah.
And those 3 things. And I'm interested. I know we're going to run out of time here, but I'd be really interested, Boyd. What are your personal practices to manage your anxiety? You're in a high-stress job.
I just don't acknowledge that it's a high-stress job. It's just we're just chatting with friends. For me, it is the disconnect. For me, it's the stillness. It's a little bit of very quiet music. It's a chance to just think, and also to read, whether I'm reading history or whether I'm reading a book like yours, which I spent a lot of time on last night. It's getting something that re-energizes, recharges those batteries, that kind of resets everything for me.
Yeah. We actually, our latest book, I'm really proud of it. It's we self-published it because we use it in our coaching practice, is the Gratitude Habit. It's a 90-day journal. How do you start your day? How do you end your day? And, you always talk about how do you bring it home to your neighborhood and to your family. My wife and I have a lovely ritual at the end of the day. We say, what are your 3? What are 3 things you're grateful for today?
Yeah.
And it's just, studies have shown that if you end with that calm and you're in that state of gratitude, you sleep better, your relationships are better, and it gives you that positive outlook in a world that bombards us with negativity every day.
Great stuff. If you missed any part of the last 2 segments of the show, you're going to want to go to the podcast. Go to kslpodcast.com this afternoon. We'll post it all there. You can get the deep dive. You can also go, if you want more of Chester's work, go to thecultureworks.com. Thecultureworks.com. The Gratitude Journal, Leading with Gratitude, Anxiety at Work, all of the resources are there. Chester, thanks so much for making time for us today and giving us a little energy back on a Friday. Great to have you.
Yeah, great to be with you, and really grateful for the work you're doing. Boy, keep it up, and anytime you want me back, the answer is yes.
All right, game on. We're going to hold you to that. Chester Elton, just an extraordinary voice, great leader of leaders, great influencer, great writer, and some great resources for all of us to get into that gratitude space, lessen the anxiety space, create a culture, whether it's in your family, your community, your corporation, or this wonderful country called the United States of America. We all have a role to play. We all need to lean in and engage. That wraps it up for us. Hour number 1 of Inside Sources here on KSL News Radio. We'll step aside for some top-of-the-hour news, but don't go anywhere. Jonah Goldberg is going to kick off the 2 o'clock hour with this. We'll be right back.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 2 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story this hour. We have breaking news. We're just hearing that a Trax train has hit and injured a person in South Salt Lake. This accident happened near the Meadowbrook station at 210 West and 39 South in Salt Lake City. Now UTA says to expect short Trax delays from the Mill Creek station up to Old Greektown in Salt Lake City. No update given yet on the person who was hit or on their condition. We're just a couple of days out from a big storm that expected to leave a lot of valley rain and mountain snow behind. KSL meteorologist Devin Mashuli says this storm moves in on Sunday. By Monday morning, Salt Lake City could have as much as an inch of rain. She says the mountains could also pick up potentially a foot of snow.
The benches, come Monday morning, they could even see trace to about an inch of snow.
Highs are predicted in the 50s from Sunday all the way through Wednesday. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Federal prosecutors have filed criminal charges against Texas Democratic Congressman Henry Cuellar and his wife Imelda. Prosecutors say the Democrat from Laredo took in $600,000 from a Mexican bank and an oil and gas company owned by the government of Azerbaijan. 14-count indictment says Cuellar used his office to push policies favoring the bank and the former Soviet republic. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average still up on the day, 450 points right now. The NASDAQ up 315. And our KSL weather, rain expected on Sunday. We'll have that next. KSL News Time 2:01.
It's a priority for us at this station to bring you all sides of a story and to talk about the news fairly, completely.
Get all the facts and be really aware. Utah's Morning News with us, Tim and Amanda.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Introducing Peach Doors and Windows. Are you ready to upgrade your home with stunning new windows but are overwhelmed with how to begin? Look no further than Peach Windows. You know at Peach, they are all about giving you options. Peach offers a wide selection of wood windows, sleek modern black metal frames, European tilt and turn windows, plus much, much more. It's not just about looks, it's about durability and security to protect what matters most. Let them help you find the perfect match for your home, budget, and personal style. Visit their showroom and see for yourself. No pushy sales tactics, only guidance from their experienced staff. No inflated markups just to offer so-called discounts. See their 5-star reviews where customers rate them on their attention to detail through every step of the sale and installation process. Amazing home transformations begin with windows and doors. Serving Logan to St. George, just Google Peach Building to see for yourself.
Guys, are you still dealing with loss of energy, poor sleep, weight gain, and even ED? Revive Men's Health Salt Lake City offers guaranteed low T and ED treatments. And this month only, qualified patients get a free 1-month supply of personalized ED medication, plus a free ED treatment producing immediate results. Availability is limited. Book your free exam and consultation today. Call 801-263-7777. That's 801-263-7777. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, today through Sunday. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, today through Sunday. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Today, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Looking for a secure retirement plan without market risk? Look no further. Lyle Boss, president of Boss Financial, specializes in no market risk retirement strategies with guarantees of principal, guaranteed growth, and lifelong income. Join Lyle right here each Saturday and Sunday for his Safe Money radio show and call him now at 855-355 SAFE for your complimentary customized Safe Money Information Kit and Safe Money Book. Nothing but upside here at 855-355-SAFE.
At Social Security, we are always thinking of ways to save you time and make things easier. That's why we created My Social Security. Opening a My Social Security account gives you secure access to your personal record and interactive tools tailored for you. You can see if you are eligible to receive benefits, view spousal benefit estimates, and compare retirement benefit estimates at different ages or dates when you want to start receiving benefits. Already receiving benefits? Use your account to change your address, set up or change direct deposit, get a proof of income letter, and more. In most states, you can also request a replacement Social Security card. Save time. Go online. Open a My Social Security account at ssa.gov/myaccount. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
Inside Sources with Boyd Matheson.
Our goal every day on Inside Sources is to help you divide the rage from the reason, elevate the conversation, connect the dots, and make the news make sense in your world. We have conversations with great thinkers, with great leaders, and great people who are just out there making a difference in the world. Now, we do talk about politics, but only so we can discuss society and culture. And then we explore society and culture so we can discuss principles and the people in America and the state of Utah who actually live them and apply them every day. We bring the best and brightest minds to the state of Utah, and we love to take the Utah model and send it out to our nation's capital and beyond. Every day on Inside Sources, you'll be part of that conversation. To help you understand things in a different way, we'll get you to think again about what you think you know, but most important, we're going to help you have confidence to have crucial conversations in your community and in your own home.
Join Inside Sources with Boyd Matheson 1 to 3 on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky Meeks.
We do have delays in both east and westbound directions on 3900 South, where the road has been blocked at 300 West due to the accident involving a tracks versus pedestrian. We also have traffic a little heavy and slow southbound I-15 at the South Interchange. And also look for crews on the scene of an accident. This is going to be southbound I-15 at 800 North in Orem to the right. Calling all Wasatch and Summit County residents. Use the code LOCALVIP to get early access and lock in your summer plans for Utah Symphony's Deer Valley Music Festival. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
South winds will push tomorrow's high close to 80 degrees, then rain arrives on Sunday with a high of just 54. It'll stay cool Monday and Tuesday with a chance of rain. Right now, 54 degrees and mostly cloudy skies. I'm Dan Bomitz from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. America's voice of reason. Boyd Matheson on Utah's home for elevated conversation. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Well, as we've gone through the week this week, of course, we've seen an endless stream of images of protesters not protesting peacefully. There were quite a few, by the way, but they didn't get any of the attention. All the images on social media, on all the national cable news networks, about those who were not doing the peaceful part of the protest. And we want to get past the headlines of all of that for the more nuanced discussion that will actually lead us to the principles and the path forward to better conversations. Let's begin.
Think you know the news of the day? Think again with Boyd Matheson on KSL News Radio.
Well, it's time to think again about what we think we know. And I will tell you, one of the places I go every Friday as part of my Friday ritual is to go and read Jonah Goldberg. Of course, Jonah's a scholar at the American Enterprise Institute. He's editor-in-chief, co-founder of The Dispatch and Remnant podcast host, and joins us back on the program. And Jonah, it's been a minute, but great to have you back on the show.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
So one of the things that you wrote this week that just grabbed me in a significant way was not just this idea of, hey, we got to stop romanticizing just the cult of protest, but you actually went all the way to Norman Rockwell in terms of a demonstration. So just take our listeners on that little journey for a minute.
Sure. So, look, I think protest is a form of speech, right? It's a First Amendment right, just like speech is a right. Freedom of assembly and petition the government and all that kind of thing. And the thing is that speech is the right to free speech, the constitutional right to free speech is a great right. I want to defend it. I have no problem with it. But just because you're exercising a right doesn't mean that what you're saying is inherently valuable or beneficial in any way. You can scream the N-word at people. That's free speech. Doesn't mean what you're doing is right.
Yeah.
Right. And similarly, you can protest. You have a right to protest. It's constitutionally protected. There are restrictions, time, place, and manner for protest as there are for speech. It's all very well worked out in the Constitution. But just simply because you're protesting doesn't mean you're right. And it's been driving me crazy. Are all these people, I see it all the time on cable news and on Twitter, people saying, look back in history, the protesters were always right. They were always proven right in the end. Well, first of all, that's not true. Right. The Nazis marching in Skokie were not right. But second of all, we have this tendency because a lot of people in the media, particularly people from elite schools, also the elite schools themselves, they've romanticized protest as this glorious thing unto itself, that protesting is a good in and of itself. And part of my problem with that is, first of all, I don't like crowds. I think crowds are kind of creepy, right? But also, in America's political culture, whether you want to go to political philosophy or you want to just go to American history or tradition, the irreducible unit in an American liberal democracy is the individual, not the group, not the crowd, not the mob. The hero in the American political tradition is the lone voice who stands up to the mob and says, you're not going to lynch this guy today. It's not the mob. The hero in Western civilization isn't the mob that insisted Socrates must die. It's Socrates for refusing to abandon the truth in the face of mob intimidation. And so like that Norman Rockwell painting, it's part of their famous series of paintings, The Four Freedoms, inspired by FDR's Four Freedoms speech. And the one for speech also applies to protest. And it's an image, we've all seen it, you can Google it in 2 seconds, of a working class guy standing up at a town hall with, surrounded by people who are sort of better off than him, giving voice to his conscience. That's like the heroic image to me of protest, or, whether it's individual or otherwise, is somebody obeying the rules and in a civil and heartfelt way and respectful way, giving voice to his objection and people listening to it. Yeah. That is not the aesthetic of protests, people, screaming, gas the Jews, or I am Hamas, or smashing windows. And when you go back and you look, Martin Luther King, go back and watch his interviews. My friend David French was pointing this out recently. Watch his interview on Meet the Press, where he explains civil disobedience. Now, civil disobedience is different than protest or speech because, by definition, civil disobedience is law breaking. And King's point was, if you think a law is truly unjust, you have a right to defy it, but you also have an obligation to peacefully suffer the consequences. And so the heroic civil rights protesters, they got arrested. They knew they'd get arrested. Yeah. They knew they would face consequences. Sometimes they knew they would face the consequences of police dogs attacking them. These spoiled bourgeois brats on these college campuses, one of their primary demands is complete and total amnesty for what they're doing. You even have one kid, I shouldn't say kid, some grown woman, some putative adult saying that not only would they not leave the occupied building at Columbia, which they broke into illegally and refused to vacate, but she considered it an outrage that the school wasn't providing what she called basic humanitarian aid, i.e., you have to let us order things off Grubhub and get our quinoa bowls for us to continue breaking the law. And then she wants complete and total amnesty. This can't go on our permanent record. so they don't want to face any consequences. It's cosplaying bravery. It's Selma envy on the cheap. And I just find it utterly grotesque. And the way the media talks about it, as if these people are heroes, and this is an important rite of passage in a fully realized educational experience, is horse hockey.
Yeah.
And I just have contempt for the whole thing.
It reminded me a little bit of Animal Farm. It's like, but I still want my treats. I still want my stuff. Right. And so I think getting past all of that and getting people to just recognize, look, time, manner, all of those things, place, all of those things matter in a significant way, because that's the only way that we can actually go from protest to progress. I mean, a lot of people point to, well, what about the Boston Tea Party? Well, that was a moment, but if they'd stayed there, what we celebrate as a Boston Tea Party wouldn't have been a footnote in history, just one more angry mob yelling at a big oppressive government. But they didn't. They moved forward. Took them a long time to get to 1787, where they put down what they were for in the Constitution. And so it's one thing to be against things, fine, but if you don't have a path forward, to me it gets to the therefore what question. What is the point? And as you said, Jonah, you're not right just because you have the right to protest. Your cause has to be right too.
Absolutely. I mean, we're allowed to make moral judgments about what people are protesting for. We're also allowed to make very, realpolitik, very pragmatic judgments about it. And you hear these people because they've been just drenched in the myth-making about the protests of the 1960s. You can find dozens of people, serious people, historians, pundits, all these people saying that, well, the 68 protests ended the war. Did they? The 68 protests got Richard Nixon elected. The war ended in 75. What they got was 7 more years of bombing. They got the bombing of Cambodia out of it. The American people did not like the protesters, and they didn't agree with the protesters. Right now, the American people, including, I think, a majority of Democrats, support getting rid of these encampments. And it's also worth pointing out this time, place, manner thing. That's just constitutional law speak for where and when you can do things. Like you can't disrupt a class, right? You can't march into a surgical theater while someone's trying to take out an appendix and just start screaming "Free Gaza," right? There are places where protest is allowed. There are strict rules about these on college campuses. Well, they have strict rules on paper about these on college campuses, and this gets to sort of part of the problem. The people on these campuses, the administrators, we've spent 10 years with all of these horror stories. I'm sure you've had bits about this on radio shows about these inane speech policing things where you can't misgender somebody, right? You can't say, if you say men can't get pregnant, you get disciplined and sent into some sort of re-education center on a college campus. But if you say gas the Jews, well, look, that's free speech. You have to, when you make allowances for these things, people can disagree. And normal people can see the double standard. Normal people can see that these administrators want to have complete and total control over the speech they don't like. But when the speech they either like or comes from one of the members of the coalition of the oppressed, right? When they say things, they fall back to, First Amendment free speech rules, open discourse, and it's just a lie. I mean, there's this old saying that behind every double standard is a single unconfessed standard, and that's what it is that they want one standard, they want strict permission for the speech that they endorse, and they want to clamp down in Orwellian fashion on the speech that they don't like.
Yeah.
And this is why you just can't take seriously these people when they claim that they're for free speech whenever it's convenient for them and not when it's not.
Yeah, it's the intolerant tolerance, I think, committee that that drives so much of that. This is such an important thing for us to get to, especially as we round out this week, looking at a lot of things that we have seen. But as always, you have to get past the headline. There's all the important stuff is underneath that. And if you're only skimming across the surface, you're going to have a very different perspective, and you're not going to get to the essence of the issue. Jonah Goldberg, nobody better at getting down to the essence. And, of course, you can check out all of his pieces at The Dispatch, thedispatch.com. And, Jonah, thanks so much for making time for us today.
Always a pleasure, Boyd. Thank you.
All right, we'll step aside for a quick break. Jonah Goldberg, scholar at the American Enterprise Institute, editor-in-chief, co-founder of the Dispatch, and some great perspective there under the headlines. We heard so much this week about the protests and the protesters, but we have to get underneath all of that to get to what are the real stories going on underneath that? How does it work? Why does it matter? And then most important, how do we go from protest to progress? That's what we got to think again about. We'll be right back.
Think again on Inside Sources with Boyd Matheson.
When you think of Utah's homeless, who do you see? They are people with names and faces, and many are in dire circumstances. They are men and women, and sometimes children. Many are living on the street, in a car, or in a shelter. Some choose to be homeless. Most do not. Many experience the challenges of addiction or mental illness. All are vulnerable. Homelessness is a crisis, one that affects us all. Utah is building a coalition of community leaders and concerned citizens united to end the plight of homelessness. Homelessness should not mean hopelessness. Learn more at projecthumandignity.org. A message from Utah Impact Partnership.
Emergency traffic on KSL News Radio, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. In Weber County, we have an accident on southbound I-15 near Riverdale Road in Riverdale. It is blocking 2 left lanes of travel, and we're still waiting for emergency crews to arrive on the scene. So far, it's not only causing delays, but stop-and-go speeds back to 31st Street in Ogden. You want to consider hopping off of the freeway and taking an alternate route. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Advertising used to be simple. Your options were radio, TV, newspaper, and let's not forget the yellow pages. Now it seems like a tidal wave of options. Podcast, cable TV, streaming, OTT, CTV, audio networks, smart speakers. On top of that, you need digital marketing for your website along with SEM, SEO, display, video, YouTube, email, and all the social media platforms. Look, you're the expert in your business. Wouldn't it be nice to have an expert to market you? We are Bonneville Salt Lake, the local marketing and media company you know and trust. We reach customers across all digital and social platforms and have the reach of traditional advertising available as well. We find your customer anytime, any place, anywhere on any device here in Utah or anywhere in the world. We work to optimize your results with our in-house local team of experts, providing you with qualified leads, not just impressions. Contact Stephanie Palmer at KSL for a free consultation, including a complete digital audit with no obligation or cost to you. Email spalmer@ksl.com. That's spalmer@ksl.com.
If you've got a honey-do list with electrical, plumbing, heating, or air conditioning projects on it, Any Hour Services can help. Call Any Hour Services, electrical, plumbing, heating, and air. anyhourservices.com.
Get deeper insights on the news from Inside Sources.
Welcome back to Inside Sources here on KSL News Radio. Great to be with you today. As always, I am Boyd Matheson. And if you ask many Americans, a lot of them are a little more concerned about the increasing prevalence of artificial intelligence technology than they are excited about it. A lot of worries, a lot of hand-wringing going on there. The advertised benefits of AI tech seem kind of out in the future a little bit, and beyond what a lot of people have tinkered and toyed with in terms of learning models like ChatGPT. Some people are just a little more stressed about the benefit in our personal lives, what that may or may not be. But today I want to go just a little bit different and look at one example of how AI can make a real-world positive impact today, not tomorrow, not down in the future. And really thrilled to have joining us from the Washington Post, Josh Tieringal, is a Post columnist covering AI and everything artificial intelligence. And Josh, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks so much for having me.
Great piece in the Washington Post about some college students. Of course, college students, there's a high dropout rate. And you tell the story of 2 sisters who are showing maybe a possible way to fix that dropout rate. Explain that for us.
Yeah, I mean, listen, first of all, these are 2 really smart young women. They're 30 and 28. They're Italian sisters. They came to the United States for college, and they were immediately struck by how little attention they were receiving. They were paying full tuition at sort of elite American colleges. Nobody really bothered to ask how they were doing. Nobody bothered to ask what they could use help with. And so, the two of them sort of looked at each other and they were like, well, first of all, this is a great business opportunity. And so what they realized after some research was that what they were experiencing is very similar to what most American college students experience. And so they had a problem, and they saw how that problem manifested, which is that 40% of American college students never make it to the end of college. They drop out. And so that 40% at a systemic level is shocking, because it means that these universities are doing a terrible job of reaching their students. They're failing their students. And from the business perspective of those schools, they need to replace the revenue. That means they have to go find new students. And, at an individual level, it's just tragic, because what we know is that people who drop out of school earn over their lifetimes $1.5 million less in many cases than college degree holders. They default on their student loans. So these young women thought, okay, well, what do we do here? And they said, well, ideally, you would reach out to students on a regular basis, and you would ask them questions about the four things, and there are really only four, the four things that cause most dropouts. And those four things are financial distress, academic challenges, not fitting in their community, or mental or physical illness. So you reach out, you ask them, you engage with them, and you'd have a sort of early alarm system, right? So this is 2017, and they're like, well, that would be great, but how do you do that? And what they discovered, of course, is that first, we're talking about still people in teens, late adolescence, and young adulthood. So their theory of the case when they started a company called EdSites, was, why don't we text them multiple choice questions? They'll respond. And we're now talking, older tech. And when they respond, at least we'll have some idea of how they're feeling. And what happened is they had one client, which was a university in Western Missouri, that texted the 3,800 students. And the 3,800 students responded like, where have these questions been all our lives? And they really realized at that moment, they want more than just questions. These students had questions about where can I find mental health resources?
Yeah.
Where can I get a job? Oh, by the way, where's the cafeteria? Right? So I'll leave it there. That is stage one of their diagnosis of the problem.
And it's amazing. And just that simple moment of reaching out, amazing what that does. So describe for us quickly now what they found and how they've been able to use AI as a way to make this a little more sophisticated and a little more meaningful experience.
Yeah, so look, entrepreneurs, every entrepreneur, I don't care who they are, they need a little bit of luck. And what happened to the Recchi sisters is that they discovered this massive opportunity at the very moment AI was making large language models real. And so they suddenly had an ability, thanks to technology, to respond to the students. And when the student said, where's the cafeteria? It turns out you can program a large language model AI to tell them exactly where it is.
Yeah.
So what they started to do was build unique models around each university client that they got, so that they could upload the student handbook, they could upload maps and geography of the school, and they started to build out a dashboard so that the academic counselors could have these, what would basically happen is a first wave of conversation between a student and an AI. And on a dashboard, you could see, we have, let's say, 1,000 students. 900 of them are doing great, but 100 are in the red zone.
Yeah.
And on that dashboard, you can see precisely why, because the kids are telling you. And so it makes it much easier to go out and help them be successful. Find out if they lost a part-time job and are now struggling to keep up, well, let's figure out how to get them a job.
Yeah.
If they're suffering from a little bit of mental illness, if there's disturbances in their families. So, I, as you mentioned, I'm an AI columnist, and one of the most common questions I get is, when's it going to be here? Right? When are we going to get the benefit? And a lot of what I've been doing is showing that it's not just Microsoft and it's not just Google.
Yeah.
A lot of small companies and small entrepreneurs have figured it out, and they are solving problems using AI in real time.
Yeah, love that. Great piece in the Washington Post. Josh, thanks so much for joining us today. And this is one of those, we love entrepreneurs. We love this kind of application. and it's having a real impact today, which is what it's all about. Josh, thanks so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thanks so much.
All right. Great application of AI, great entrepreneurship, making a difference on college campuses. Love that. We'll step aside for bottom of the hour news. More Inside Sources coming up next.
It's 2:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bonas. KSL's top local story this hour, Phil Lyman, the Republican candidate for governor, and his lieutenant governor running mate, Lane Bangerter, are in court this afternoon, getting to the nitty-gritty of what the language in the Utah Constitution indicates for the future of their campaign. Bangerter's lawyer, Chad Shattuck, is arguing the language in the Constitution does not indicate that the residential residency requirement needs to be 5 consecutive years in order to run for state office. KSL News Radio has a reporter in the courtroom, and we'll keep you updated as the hearing continues. We're hearing that a TRAX train has hit and injured a pedestrian in South Salt Lake. This happened near the Meadowbrook station at 210 West and 39th South in Salt Lake City. No update given yet on the person who was hit or their condition. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Following testimony from his former campaign press secretary, Hope Hicks, in the hush money trial in New York City on Friday, former President Donald Trump took aim at the case against him, accusing prosecutors of targeting innocent people.
And all they do is they go after people. They destroy people, and it's a shame.
Reporters inside the courtroom say Hicks broke down in tears on the witness stand, was very careful answering questions from prosecutors. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average ending the trading day up 450 points. And the NASDAQ was up 315, the S&P 500 up 63 today. Our KSL weather, a sunny Saturday and a rainy Sunday. That's next. KSL News Time, 2:32.
Here's a way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Everyone's house is different, but they're all the same in one way. We've all got those places where the Wi-Fi just won't go. For you, maybe it's the attic. For me, it's my basement. Well, if you had wall-to-wall Wi-Fi from Xfinity, you could worry less about these dead spots. Finally. With wall-to-wall Wi-Fi from Xfinity, you get fast speeds throughout your home, reliable connection in every room, and power for all of your devices, even when everyone is online. That's wall-to-wall Wi-Fi from Xfinity. Get wall-to-wall Wi-Fi from Xfinity for a reliable connection throughout your home. Now through June 21st, new customers can get started with gig speed internet for $25 a month for 2 years with no annual contract and free Wi-Fi equipment included when you add unlimited mobile. $25 a month for 2 years with no annual contract. Go to Xfinity.com. Call 1-800-XFINITY. That's 1-800-XFINITY or visit a store today.
Spring is a great time to elevate the look of your home and landscape by adding beautiful flowers to the yard and patio. And pros and hobbyists alike know that the best flowers are grown by Olson's Greenhouse, right here in the mountain valleys of Utah. This is Brian with Olson's Greenhouse, and my family has been growing flowers with love and care for over 80 years. That's 4 generations of a local, family-run Utah business. So whether you're looking to add a pop of color to the back patio or a beautiful flower bed to the front landscape, flowers from Olson's Greenhouse are the perfect finishing touch to make your yard a joy to relax in. Stop by OGG.com or find us on Instagram at Olson's Greenhouse Gardens, where you'll find inspiring photos to get you going on your flower gardening journey. You can also find a local retailer carrying plants from Olson's Greenhouse. That's OGG.com for Olson's Greenhouse Gardens, where you can dream big, dream bold, and dream in color with beautiful plants and flowers from Olson's Greenhouse.
You know, Deb, you and I have had this conversation so many times. We think, oh, I wish I had a little more light here or maybe a ceiling fan there.
That's why we love Master Electrical. So anytime we have an electrical problem, we know we can call them and they will give us their upfront pricing guarantee.
Because we're not going to do it yourself. We're going to leave it to the professionals. And this upfront pricing guarantee is fantastic. I'm sure you've been bitten by bids in the past where they say, oh, that's going to take half a day. And then 2 weeks later, The bid and the invoice have nothing to do with each other.
Not only will you get their upfront pricing guarantee, but you'll never see an upcharge. Their pricing system simply won't allow it.
Master Electrical proudly serves from Logan to Santaquin.
They do everything that has to do with electrical, and they're always open, including for emergency services. The phone number to call is 801-543-2222.
801-543-2222, or check them out online at masterelectrical.com.
We have emergency traffic now, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky Meese.
This is in Weber County. An accident. Looks like there are about 3 vehicles involved southbound I-15 at Riverdale Road. It is now only blocking a left lane of traffic, but that's all it takes. We have stop-and-go delays with traffic at a crawl passing 31st Street in Ogden, almost back to 24th Street. Again, if you don't want to sit through these delays, you need to consider avoiding southbound I-15 and taking an alternate route. The UACPA supports certified public accountants in Utah through ongoing professional education and leadership development. Find a CPA that works for you, uacpa.org. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
South winds will push tomorrow's high close to 80 degrees, and rain arrives on Sunday with a high of only 54, and then it'll stay cool Monday and Tuesday with the chance of rain. 54 degrees, partly cloudy right now. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. America's voice of reason. Boyd Matheson on Utah's home for elevated conversation. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Well, you've heard me say many times on this show that culture eats strategy for breakfast in most places, and organizations that can develop the right kind of culture have a huge advantage, and more importantly, they make a difference for their clients and for their customers. Noted this week that Mountain America Credit Union was ranked in the top 5 nationally by USA Today as top workplaces in 2024, and so we want to figure out the secret sauce there and see what's happening. We always like to showcase the Utah model out to everyone, and really pleased to have joining us on the program Trent Savage, who's the Chief HR Officer for Mountain America Credit Union. And Trent, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Great to be with you.
So tell us about this recognition in USA Today and what that means, and then we'll get to the backstory of how that all came about.
Yeah, well, the recognition really is, we're honored that we've had about nearly 2,000 of our 3,400 employees share their voice and feedback about how they feel about working here. And I think you really nailed it when you said the importance of culture. And we really believe that we have a great culture and organization that led to this award.
So important. And so describe for us some of the things that you do internally, some of those guiding principles, some of those strategies and tactics that help you create that kind of culture, and then ultimately the results that drives.
Yeah, well, first of all, it really starts with our members, and that's one of the things that I love most about Mountain America Credit Union is that we focus on the member. I've had the chance to work for other companies before, and what I found is those organizations that are customer or member focused usually are going to win. And so it starts with our strong focus on our member, and that is really embedded into our mission vision. One of the things that I love about our mission is we talk specifically in there about hiring and developing the best. And we really put a strong effort on very thoughtful hiring processes that help us get people that we think would fit our culture well. Within the organization, we have a couple key things associated with our mission and vision. One of those is what we call the MACU Way, which really outlines critical behaviors that are important for our team members. And when we did the MACU Way, one of the things that we did is we went out and interviewed members and our board members and other key stakeholders as well as employees to figure out what are those behaviors that match what we need to support our member and internally. And that is the power, and we really feed that throughout multiple systems, from hiring through performance, promotion. That really feeds throughout our system. Another key point that we have is we have called the team member blueprint. You know, one of the things that I've explored, or one of the things I've experienced over my career, is a lot of times HR talks about the experience of an employee, but we don't always articulate that well to leaders and managers. And so one of the things we've built is what we call the team member blueprint, which really outlines for managers, what do employees care about? I think it's a couple key things. It's a clear mission. In our survey, we had 93% of employees say that they agree that we live up to our values. So I think that strong belief really shows through and leads to the recognition because it connects to our members and our purpose of supporting and helping members achieve their financial dreams. And then we care deeply about the experience that we created for our team members. So I think it's really a combination of these things and how we've built them into our systems and processes and how we operate as a credit union that's really helped us achieve this award.
Yeah, I think it's so important, both for the employees, for the frontline folks that are doing a lot of those things, as well as the members and their experience. One of the things that we have found and seen in so many places in society is everything has become so transactional. And I think sometimes we just kind of default to that rather than building those relationships and even those transformational experiences. And it sounds like the culture you're driving this isn't about a banking transaction or a financial transaction. This is about a relationship and an opportunity for transformation.
I think that sums it up well. I started with a credit union about 6 years ago, and in reality, I came from the tech space, and at first I was like, credit union, why would I want to go to a credit union? But then I started talking to members of Mountain America, and I was blown away at how much they loved it. Like, they were raving fans. And then I connected with a few internal employees, and again, that same raving was there. And so that's what I love and what I think is a secret sauce for us here is our focus on the member is a key priority. And, if you haven't been into one of our branches or called our service center, I'd say do it. It's just a great experience. Our people really are trying to create those relationships and help people with their financial needs and really form that connection. And what I love about it is that we really try to connect not just our employees to the member, but to each other. You mentioned that transaction. In today's world, so many people leave companies. We really strongly support a promote from within culture. We want to grow our talent. So we put a significant effort into growing and developing our talent. We really want to be known in Utah, not as just taking care of our members externally, but for candidates, we want to be known as if you want to go and develop and become very talented, financially savvy, and potentially a great leader, this is the place to be for that development.
I love that. I always think the organizations that say, hey, whether you're here working for us and part of this team for 6 months or 6 years or a decade, when you leave, you're going to be better, you're going to have more skills, more abilities, more opportunities because you were part of this. And I think that's part of the reason you've achieved this award is that ability to attract, train, and retain and help each of those employees feel like they're part of that mission and vision and experience for all of your members as well. Trent Savage, Chief HR Officer for Mountain America. Again, Mountain America Credit Union ranked in the top 5 nationally by USA Today, top workplaces in 2024. Trent, thanks so much for making time for us today.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Great being with you.
So many great lessons out of there that don't just apply in the business setting. They apply in our communities. They apply in our neighborhoods. I wish Congress would focus on that just a little bit more as they look at how do we actually create that kind of space where everyone can come to the table, bring their unique talents and gifts and abilities, their unique perspective and life experience, and get it all on the table so that we can get to the best decisions. The best decisions aren't those that are made just top down and pushed through. They aren't those that are just done by one particular group. You've heard me say it before. I've seen groups that had, just for example, that was made up of only men, rarely came up with the best decision. I've seen those that had just women, rarely came up with the best decision. But when everybody can not only have a seat at the table, but a voice at the table, and that as we value each other's voices at the table, as we had our conversation yesterday with Ibu Patel, let's have a potluck. Everybody bring your best shot. Bring your unique flavor, your unique dish, and then let's get into that place where we can creatively combine the best. And again, whether that's in a business, whether that's in a community setting or a government setting, the principles are exactly the same. Get the important people around the table. Give everybody a voice. Value the differences. and then we can have a different kind of conversation that always lead us to better results. Again, whether that's business or community. All right, we'll step aside for one last break. We'll come back with some final thoughts on a Friday here on KSL News Radio. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Not to brag, but Progressive's Name Your Price tool is mankind's greatest tool ever. Even better than the wheel. Sure, without the wheel, we wouldn't have modern transportation or funny videos of dogs riding skateboards. But without the Name Your Price tool, we wouldn't have easy access to auto insurance options based on our budget. And, well, cars do need wheels. They also need insurance, and insurance never goes flat. Learn more about the greatest tool ever, the Name Your Price tool at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
For the ones who work hard to ensure their crew can always go the extra mile, and the ones who get in early so everyone can go home on time, there's Grainger, offering professional-grade supplies backed by product experts so you can quickly and easily find what you need. Plus, you can count on access to a committed team ready to go the extra mile for you. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Jeff Kaplan here with Josh Moore from IWC Roofing. Josh, on our show yesterday, you made a very special offer for our listeners.
$2,000 off an entire roof purchase. It's by far the largest promo that we've ever ran in almost 30 years of business. And in addition to that, we can actually do financing. So not one or the other, but we can combine the two.
So you're going to keep it going an extra day, but why IWC Roofing?
The question is, why not IWC Roofing? We're the highest rated roofing contractor in the state. We've been in business for 30 years, and hands down, because of the volume that we do and this additional promo that we're running, we will get you the best value out there on a new roof purchase, guaranteed.
And they'll do your entire roof in one day. Get $2,000 off, but you have to call today. IWC Roofing, 801-232-5690, 801-232-5690. That's 801-232-5690, or go to iwcroofingutah.com. Thanks, Josh.
You bet. Thanks.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, today through Sunday. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, today through Sunday. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Today, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Are you stressing about your IRS tax problems? Have you received notices from the IRS threatening to garnish your wages, levy your bank accounts, or seize your property? You need an ally. Allies Tax Relief has tax attorneys and enrolled agents that are ready to fight for you. They have saved millions for taxpayers just like you. Allies Tax Relief can help put a stop to IRS collections and, most importantly, negotiate your tax debt. Here's Brenda, a happy client of Allies Tax Relief.
I owed the IRS around $57,000, and they're about to start garnishing my paychecks. I heard a commercial on the radio about Allies Tax Relief, so I thought I'd give them a call. After a day, they were able to at least stop the garnishments, and after a few months of negotiations, I walked away owing the IRS only $301.
If you owe the IRS, call Allies Tax Relief right now for your free consultation. Call 800-230-5174. 800-230-5174. That's 800-230-5174.
Derek Overstreet, founder of the New Millennium Group. We're a financial planning firm. Listen, we're fiduciaries. We have advisors standing by right now to take your call. That's 888-999-6370. 888-999-6370. The reason you're going to want to call is we're going to help you retire 3 to 5 years before you thought possible. Now, imagine how that would be if you could actually retire 3 to 5 years sooner than your plan was. The way we do this is by putting together a step-by-step plan, taking into consideration any rental properties that you have, any pension income that you have, your Social Security. Listen, we put that all together for you in writing. It will allow us to build your income based on inflation. You know, inflation has been rapidly rising. You and I both need a plan that whatever we start out our income at, in 5 or 10 years, we're going to need 40% more income. So if you're one of those people listening and you'd like a plan in writing, give us a call at 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370, or go to utahsfinancialplanner.com.
Dave and Dujanovic.
One person described it like this: I like having 1,000 one-minute conversations. So often we think we've got to dive in head first and know everything before we can speak on something. No, we can have a bunch of little conversations.
There's more than one opinion, and more than one opinion or viewpoint matters. I want our listeners to walk away from the show knowing that more than one opinion is valid.
Listen for Dave and Dujanovic 9 to noon on KSL News Radio.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, Phil Lyman and his running mate, Lane Bangerter, are making their case to a judge this afternoon on whether Bangerter meets the constitutional requirements to run for office. Second, a pedestrian injured by a tracks train this afternoon at the Meadowbrook station. Third, negotiations continue in Egypt on a possible ceasefire in the Gaza war. 54 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Hear elevated conversation on crucial issues. Boyd Matheson on Inside Sources.
Welcome back to Inside Sources here on KSL News Radio. It's great to be with you today, as it always is. I am Boyd Matheson. As we close out the program today, if you missed anything, and you missed a lot if you missed anything today, you're going to want to go to kslpodcast.com, and you can check out each of the individual segments of the show. And there's a few of them in particular that you're really going to want to hone in on this week. JD Tuchili joined us in the 1 o'clock hour. And we talked about some of the core principles that we have to get back to. So as we talked about these protests on college campuses and what has and hasn't been going on, one of the things that JD pointed out, and I actually want to go back to this, that many of these universities have some guidelines. And not just guidelines, they have some pretty explicit rules in terms of speech, of protest, of gathering, to make sure it's an important part of a college experience, for sure, but to what extent and why, and then how do we make sure we do it in the right way? And as we talked about with Jonah Goldberg just at 2:05, it's all about that time, place, and manner. How you do it matters, when you do it matters, where you do it matters. So in our conversation with JD Tuchili, he went back to the University of Chicago, the Chicago principles that were developed back in 2014. And they've been adopted on many college campuses as kind of the core principles. But I want to go back and reread these, and I want you to think through these in light of what we've been witnessing and watching on college campuses throughout the week. So here's what it says. These are the principles that embrace freedom of expression, that also have that right to assemble. It states that it is not the proper role of the university to attempt to shield individuals from ideas and opinions they find unwelcome, disagreeable, or even deeply offensive. But also that the university may restrict expression that violates the law, that falsely defames a specific individual, that constitutes a genuine threat or harassment, that unjustifiably invades substantial privacy or confidentiality interests, or that is otherwise directly incompatible with the functioning of the university. That seems pretty specific to me. And I think what has happened on many college campuses is that the educators and administrators have been afraid to do anything. And whenever you're functioning from a position of weakness, you rarely make good decisions because you either cower in the corner or you abdicate your principles and authority, and then the negative consequences come. And it is the absolute predictability of consequences. Now, in our conversation with Jonah Goldberg, we kind of went down that path of what happens when we decide not to do or not to live up to the rule of law. And I fully agree with what President Biden said yesterday, that we have the right to free speech and we sustain the rule of law. Those are compatible principles. But when you're breaking windows, taking over buildings, obstructing people's ability to get to class or take a test, then you've crossed the line. And so as we